Marissa.
Amanda.
And we're going to take today to just sort of explore different ways to engage and empower the staff that are in our classrooms supporting us. This kind of came out of, I've been doing PDs here for many years now, and every PD is focused for me on District 75 because I think our situations are very unique. And when I first started coming to PDs here, there really wasn't anything that I walked away with that I could turnkey into my classroom the next day. So that's sort of where this work is coming from. And we've just heard so much about the challenges and the good things of having so many adults in the classroom. So that's sort of what our vibe is today. But I think we're going to be making some adjustments because of so many people that had to cancel. So it's a smaller group, and there is the first couple sections of it are pretty interactive. So,
So we'll just start with like a little movement icebreaker-y thing, just so we can see where you're coming to this work from. So if you don't mind standing, and we're just gonna do like a across the room. Do what you need to do. It kind of feels good to stand after sitting for a while in there. So I'm just gonna read out a couple. We're kind of in a circle already, so that kind of work. We could do it across the circle or just across the room, but I'm just gonna read out a prompt, and if that prompt is something that describes you, describes your classroom, describes your work, just change and find a new space in the room. And this is really just for all of us to see who we are and what experience we're bringing into the room today. So, cross the room or find a new spot in the room. If you have a student who has a one-to-one paraprofessional for behavior support. And cross if you have a student with a one-to-one paraprofessional for a health reason. Cross if you frequently have related service providers push in to your classroom. Cross the room if all of your students, every student that you teach has an IEP. Okay, so that's a lot of us. And cross if you have at least just one student with an IEP. Okay, cool. So we're all familiar with that. Cross if you have had a conflict with an adult in your room. So a support staff member in your room. Cross if you have, at any point in time, had more adults in your room than you have students in your room.
Yeah, all the time.
Cross if you have had adults, support staff, using their phones during instructional time. And lastly, cross if you have struggled to keep the adults in your room engaged in the work that you are doing. Great. So my sense is we're all coming here today with a lot of very similar experiences that we will kind of target and discuss and play with.
great. If I can ask everybody to just go ahead and have a seat. All right. So, just in full transparency, what we're going to do today.
Hi, can I interrupt for, you don't have to film me. I just need to interrupt really quickly. Lunch was scheduled to be on the 5th floor cafeteria, and it's been changed. Now we're on the 7th floor cafeteria.
Got it.
Okay, so it's lunchtime, go to 7.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, everybody. Sorry to interrupt.
You're the best.
So, we are going to present a little play, a little mini forum theater piece. this is really, I mean, we've scripted it. We're going to act that out. And just, it's not meant, I just wanted to put that out there, in any way of any disrespect to anyone, but it really is collectively what we are seeing in our classrooms. And in the true forum sense, we'll run through our play, and then we will go back and we will ask people to stop the action, or I may stop it and ask for someone to come and take over and try a different intervention or a different strategy to see if we might have a more positive outcome. All right, so we initially were going to ask like 6 of you to be students, but that would make no sort of spec actors there watching this. So I'm going to be enrolled as the teacher, Mr. Michael. Amanda is Miss Amanda, and she is a 1-to-1 para. And Marissa, Miss Marissa, is going to be the classroom para. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Can I get 3 volunteers? Thank you. Great.
Ooh, all-star crew.
All right. So let me have, oops, sorry. Let me have you guys take some seats here. All right, and so you all have IEPs, all right? You all have IEPs, but that doesn't mean you need to act in any kind of way, in any sort of way, all right? If it's okay, you have a 1-to-1, and you need your 1-to-1 to access all instruction. Okay, so in order for you to engage in the instruction, you need support, okay? For the rest of you guys, right, this is just sort of a fishbowl setting, right? You're just gonna sort of watch the way this plays. It's really quick little play, and then we'll go back, we'll rewind it, and we'll start again from the top and ask for you guys to help us out, okay? Is everybody ready?
Oh, I thought we were.
Okay, we are. Okay, hi everybody. Look, let's just start off today with checking in, see how we're all doing. How are you this morning?
I am content.
How you doing? How are you?
I'm feeling, yeah, I'm pretty good today.
Thank you, guys. I just want to say a big improvement we've been working on is coming into the classroom, checking our schedule, putting our stuff away, and coming in and getting ready to start. So, well done. There's a big improvement from last week. So, sorry, I don't have the script memorized. All right, so I would like to invite everybody to stand up. And let's just make a small
Stand up, guys.
Okay?
She's been a little shaky this morning, so we're gonna just hang back.
Okay.
Yeah. She's fine over here. We'll be
How
okay.
are you? How you doing? Do you feel like you might want to stand up with us for a little while?
You don't have to. I know you've been like have the moments that.
No? Okay, great. You know what? Let me just pull this chair into the circle. Okay, how about come and take in the chair for a moment? Great. Thank you. That's perfect. All right, great. So, Miss Amanda, now that we have Elise in the circle, can you come join us, please? Thank you. All right. So look, here we go. Now we're just going to start with that same warm-up that we do, which is clap pass, right? So we're going to look at each other. I'm going to look at Miss Marissa, and we're going to clap same time. All right?
Marissa, did you see that email that came out about the EFT and our retro?
Yeah, and you know, the chapter leader said that maybe if it doesn't come through like at the right time, that they actually might give us a little bit more interest on it, which would be.
I mean, it's like totally messed up that they're making us wait.
I know,
Like,
we
can't
waited
even believe it.
so long, and now they're not even giving us our money at like the right time, and then they just keep telling us to do more things. Yeah, did you get the one about sexual harassment training? Like, are we going to do that? But when are we gonna get to these, like?
I'm sorry, guys. Can you just I know that this is really frustrating, these things that are happening, but can we just maybe table that for now because it's a little distracting? Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, great. Let's just go one more round. Great, let's just go one more round, and, because I need everybody to sort of be as focused as possible today, because we got a lot of choreography to get through, so let's see if we can just get through that one last time. Yep, here, see if you can stay with me. Here we go, let's get our hands ready. All right, Miss Marissa, can that looks delicious, and it's obviously got everybody's attention. Do you think you can maybe just add that a little later?
Can I have, please? Please?
Yeah,
I want, please.
Okay, lunch is
I
over
want,
here.
Okay, can you just get that out of the way?
Thank you.
Thank you
No,
so
no,
much.
but I'm hungry.
I know,
actually, you know-
I know.
Can I get a snack? Can I have water?
I'm just gonna
Can I
run.
get
Wait, Miss
water?
Marissa, can you
Can I
just,
get water?
guys, can you
It's
just
like-
please just give it
I'll be right
like
back.
2 minutes to
Like, no,
transition
like,
into the
no,
next?
I promise.
All right, and scene. All right, and scene. Okay? So, there was about 5 places for interventions in that scene, the way we sort of structured that. All right, so, we're gonna go back to the top of the scene, all right? True forum fashion. And we're just gonna play it again. We're gonna play the scene exactly the same way we did. I invite you, spectators, to stop the action whenever you feel like there's something a strategy that you might try, an intervention you might try that I didn't, or something that I might have tried, but you might have another angle to go in. I also will stop the action and ask if we're not feeling that we want to jump right in, and then we might turn that into a discussion. All right, any questions there of where we're going? And I also think too, if you 3, because we're such a small group, if you 3 feel like you would like to try something, I think we can do that. I think we can safely jump out of that convention. Okay? Everybody good? All right.
All right, we'll just like reset it.
All right. Okay, let's see. Check in today. How are you doing?
I am content.
Take a look. Miss Amanda? Sorry to hear that.
It's been a day.
It's been a day. So I wanted to, first of all, just congratulate you on your transition into the theater classroom today, because we've been struggling with that, and we really fixed that. We came in, we put our stuff away, we came, and we're ready to get started.
Stop.
Loved-
Do I just come up?
Yep.
Miss Amanda, you silly goose. You know you are breaking one of the class rules. Right up here, number 3, no electronic devices allowed unless, of course, it's assistive tech. Would you mind please putting your phone away for me? Thank you so much, Miss Amanda. Thanks for being a team player.
Okay, great. I would like to invite everybody to come stand up, and we're going to make a small circle.
Nah, she's been really shaky today. We're just gonna hang back. She's
Okay.
gonna stay here.
At least you felt a little shaky earlier today.
I've been telling me you don't have to participate.
Any chance you want to come into the circle? I can move a chair in for you. Yeah, great. Thank you. All right, great. We got almost everybody. Miss Amanda, can you come join us, please? All right, here we go. We're going to do clap pass. We're going to look at each other. Great. Pass it around the circle.
Okay.
Marissa, did you see that they sent out that email about our retro package?
Yeah, like we might not be getting it on time, so like they're probably gonna have to delay it, and then, but, you know,
It's,
the,
like,
our chapter leader
crazy.
said that, we'll probably get some interest on the retro if it doesn't come.
But
and they say something.
it's so ridiculous that they're gonna make us wait for it.
I know, and they're making us do like all these other things, like at the same time, like they sent another email about sexual harassment training, there was like some other
Guys,
training that.
I'm sorry. I know these things are very, very frustrating, but can we maybe like save that conversation for later or like on a break or lunch or something like that? Only because we have so much to get ready for today and we need everybody super duper focused. Is that cool? All right, let's just go one more round. Here we go.
Can I have? I want.
All right, let me phrase here. Yeah, let me phrase here. Anybody have any suggestions? Jump in here.
Maybe like pull like how she had the rules up. Maybe that in the beginning too.
Okay.
With that, like maybe the teacher can intervene and say, can you like, we have like snack for like no eating in front of the kids. That's like a big thing in my school.
Mhm.
Like no, just water's allowed. Like no snack. I don't know.
Anyone else? Yeah.
I've found that one thing that really helps is when we go through our norms with kids at the beginning, and we focus on the ones that are going to, without calling out behaviors like eating or phones that are going to make it impossible, because we need our hands to be focused and we need to have our feet focused and we want to be looking and listening, and those are things that we talk about with kids and we want to be modeling this. And so I would just say, all right, let's make sure we're modeling all our norms for all the kids in the room, that we have our hands and feet focused, that we are looking, that we are listening, because when we're doing that, then they're doing that too.
Okay. Anyone else have anything to add there? Yes, Peter.
Could have a conversation with the paras or whomever.
In planning, before we get to this moment, about, do you get a chance to have a prep or a break before? No, I don't. This is the only time I get to eat. Great. Let's give, while the kids are coming in, you get 2 minutes to have your snack. Or at the end, when we're leaving, we'll make sure that your student is safe. You could just take a 2-minute bite or something. Finding some other way where they are served, because they're hungry and that's all they have going on.
Yeah, almost. And it depends on the person, but like sometimes I've even just socially been like, oh man, did you not get breakfast or something? Like kind of off to the side, and sometimes even that's enough to be like, oh, right, I'm leaving class.
Yeah.
Or like if they're on their phone, like, is everything okay? Is there an emergency? And even that can be enough.
Okay. Just to rewind just a little bit, the side conversations. The side conversations.
That's hard. I mean, I would love to hear anyone's ideas.
Yeah.
That's like all day. It's like,
Right.
especially
Strategies.
during rehearsal too.
Yeah, yeah. It's a big one. Yes.
Well, I found actually it's been working. I was like, oh, actually, can you document this right here? I need to see the progress of the kids. Or, hey, this one wasn't doing this, but now he is. Can you document how many times he raises his hand in class?
Okay.
So the second something comes up, I give a task.
Great.
That's great.
Great. That's great. All right, and let's just finish this off, right? The last challenge in this is us keeping the para in the classroom. All right, so here we go. So I'm sorry, can you just, we all want a little bit
Wait,
of
but
that.
the teacher could say like, hey, I'm gonna get observed next week. Can we like practice? That's a good one.
Okay.
Because when the show is going on,
Yeah.
you want everybody to be on board with you.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I think
Yeah.
getting observed, I think they're coming, which is very possible.
Yeah, I always find people seem to step up at observation.
Yes.
Right? I'm like, oh, so you were listening, right? Like, great, anything else? So what we were looking at is the phones, which was great, probably it seemed like a very clear expectations in the room. We were talking about being on phones. We were talking about side conversations. Did you notice too, at one point when I was doing the sort of mood meter check-in, that Amanda just took the student's hand and just randomly, I get that a lot, like just get it over with, get out, like get out of my space, yeah. suggestions on that, I mean, I do generally do exactly what I did. It's just, well, let's give her some time. It's, you know.
What if like the kid has a device or something? So like, where's the, like, I don't know, like I do that. Like, where's his device? Like, why is it not here? Like a lot of them walk around with it or they forget it. And it's like, why doesn't he have it? Oh,
Oh, it's
like,
in the classroom.
It's in the classroom. Like maybe reminding the para, like, hey, like carry this thing around because then they could participate.
Right.
Yeah. Or I just remind usually that we're trying to let the student advocate for themselves. So in whatever capacity that may be, a device or actually being able to physically do it themselves, and just reminding them like we're trying to increase the students' independence. So let them try rather than physically manipulating.
And with that too, it's a reminder that it's not hand over hand. It's really, if I can borrow your app, it's a hand under hand, and it's like a very specific training where you're not moving the student at all. Like you are the adapted tool to provide a support for that child's limb in executing like a point or a gesture towards something. So you're really only moving when the student's like giving you an indication that they're going through something. So just even that reminder to some of the extra support staff in your room, like, you know, we're really looking, and if the student is eye gazing and, you know, you've worked with an OT or PT and you can see the gaze of their hand and you're supporting that, but it's the direction of the student lead. So it's really sometimes just really important to remind the support staff in the room that that's what's happening, that you're like the conduit, not the choice.
I also use a sentence starter with the kid. With the student, I use their first name. So and so feels, and then I just stop. And there's been a couple times where the paras have tried to chime in, and I'll just remind, let's let them answer, you know, very calmly and rationally, and then repeat it again. So and so feels, and then I usually get a response out of them.
Yeah, I always push to get, that's the exact like mood meter I use in the classroom. And I have one class in particular that is all medically fragile. It's a 12 1-4, and everyone is a wheelchair user. And I think 6 of them have 1-to-1 nurses. And it's like, he's feeling this way today. And I get that the nurse knows. You know, the nurse picked him up at home and got on the bus, and, you know, the nurse knows what kind of day the student's having. But I haven't even been able to position the mood meter in the way the student has been gazed, you know, the way the student is gazing before, you know, I'll wait, you know, and let a student look at the piece of
Because
paper.
we're asking the students to do a lot in that moment. You know, they're looking, they're processing, they're processing the question that you asked, they're determining how they feel, they're looking at an array of how many pictures are on there, like 16 boxes on there that they have to decipher between and figure out how they're going to gesture to you, what their choice is. So there's multiple steps that are happening when we ask the student to respond to a question that we're asking in the proximity of, you know, making sure that we're there so that they can see the options. So you just have to be mindful of, like, what does that waiting time look like? And sometimes just prompting the adults in the classroom to just be mindful of that.
All right, great. Let's push back. Thank you all so much. Thank you. So just before we move on, what are our takeaways? Right? I think clear expectations, visible. I love the almost distraction.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
But
Distraction by task.
In that distraction, what you've done is pre-planned, like in a theoretical place, that you've made an active choice as to how you're utilizing the adults in the room and like supporting your data tracking, which is what we're going to get into some connections later to the domains of Danielson, but that pre-planning and pre-thought of how I'm utilizing specifically with what Dan was saying, like the clear expectations from the beginning of class and like making sure that people are aware of their responsibility in the room.
Also, you modeling.
like the entire class, how you want to have the kids be engaged with as well.
Anything else that's something that feels different that we might not have tried or thought about?
Maybe when the like severe behavior, like with the kid, like getting everyone back after that, you know, that's hard sometimes. Like when, especially in, like if we're doing like a rehearsal or something and there's a student like screaming in the whole back of the auditorium, like how do we, what strategies can we get the paras, you know, because mine don't know, like I take them for a walk, take them outside because the other kids get, why is he crying? Why is he screaming? You know, like, so like what do we do with when there's severe like behavior? That's another thing.
No, I say I think in that case too, it's like you get into when you take a para to take a student out for a break or something. I often find that there's oftentimes now that it's like just me.
Yeah.
You know, that now I have no support.
Yeah.
And then I also get sometimes, like if I'll suggest that to happen, well, the para will be like, well, that's not how the classroom teacher does it or handles it. And then I'm like, well,
Yeah.
right, but we're in this classroom now, so
Right.
like it's a different.
So that's an interesting point that you bring up, because as a, for lack of a term, we know that in the world, sometimes we're called clusters, sometimes we're called coverage. And I hate when people do that because we're, you know, we're professionals and like experts in our content area. So as theater teachers that, you know, live in this space where they're not connected to an officially assigned class in the DOE systems, we often find ourselves like needing for the students to have continuity throughout the day, like almost adopting the behavior plans that the teacher has put in place and generalizing that across the day, depending on the needs of the students. If the students are at a space in a place where they don't need the support of the same thing or the repeated behavior plan to go through the course of the day, of course, like have your, you know, well, this isn't our theater classroom, and this is how we handle things in this space because we're in an auditorium, we're in an open forum, you know, dictating like how we behave differently in this space. But sometimes it comes down to, like as the teacher, you know, leaning in and saying, you know, like what is the behavioral expectation for this group of students that the classroom teacher has set into place, and how can we mimic that to make sure that everybody's aware of how to support the individual students in the classroom, especially if they have a one-to-one, because there's in a lot of cases, unless it's for some sort of health purpose, that they have that one-to-one because they have a formal behavior plan, you know. And so how are we making sure that as the educator we're following that behavior intervention strategy that has been designed by the entire group that works with the student? So it's kind of like making sure. And that comes into the pre-planning aspect. And I know it seems like a lot of extra asks because we sometimes see 177 students, and how could you possibly know like every specific detail about all these students? But, you know, just having those conversations with the classroom teacher, looking at that IEP and saying, you know, this is a list of prescribed things that have been noted to support the student when they're escalated, or to support de-escalation. So how can we work together? Or talking to the counselors that created the behavior plan. Sorry if that sounds heavy, but sometimes it's just like really thinking about our pre-planning and things. And of course, like behaviors arise and we have to, you know, handle them. But looking at like antecedents to behaviors, or like what can I mitigate in the space to make sure that we're not triggering the behavior too.
Yeah, I love that. Like, I pretty much always check in with any of the staff, the paras in the room as well. Like, part of my pre-planning, it might be like, is there, or if something happens after class, I can be like, hey, is there something in particular you do in the classroom that helps with this? Or if there's a kid that doesn't respond to much I do, I might even be like, has the teacher gotten them to respond to anything? Like, what is that? And I involve them, the pairs in the conversation, A, because they are with the kids all day, so it is helpful information, and also B, also helps you get a little buy-in from them because now they feel like they're part of creating the
Solution.
class with you.
Yeah, and you empower them.
Yeah.
We created that, so the ensemble building that we do almost ourselves as actors. You're building that ensemble and that like circle of support by elevating and empowering them to.
Also, like when you want to do a show or whatever, like especially like I like to pick like out of the we're doing Annie, so I picked like the orphans are from one class and the other main characters in the other class. So I noticed like once I like kind of bonded with the para, she helped me with them. Like she kind of like taught them how to do their lines and stuff. So like because you don't have your own, so you have to kind of find who can help you. And like she was helpful because she helped them with Wonka last year. So she was like actually like really helpful to me. Like let's do it like this. Like almost like we had to put the show on for them, and then they copied us a lot because they didn't really understand the text. So like that was helpful. So like some of these people like really know what they're doing. So like use them. Like that's like what I learned. You know, like
such an asset in your space.
That's the thing, like, that's why I said when we first started, like, this is meant as no disrespect, because we know there's amazing paraprofessionals, amazing. But, you know, for me, I just keep relying on the same ones, you know? Like, I have ones that'll make my costumes, there's ones that'll build my props, there's ones that'll just, you know, work all weekend, and I finished this project for you, you know? So, yeah. That's great, because we started talking about empower, yes?
There's just one thing that didn't come up in the play that I think that is the para interaction I always struggle the most with, which is when someone is, it's often a para who's like high engagement, and often in a way that is, maybe stricter is a broader term that I want to use, but I think, you know what I mean? Like, for example, the teacher is talking to you, look. And I'm like, it kills the mood, and I want their engagement, I want their energy, I want them helping out, I don't want to turn them off, but also I want them to understand how the way they do things and the relationship that they create between them and the kids affects everything going on, and someone who's doing that isn't usually someone who has a huge amount of awareness that way. I find that to be the trickiest.
I have a para who,
Yeah.
and I'm like, stop doing that.
Stand there, stand still.
Yeah, right.
It's like, yeah, he doesn't have to
okay.
stand
Yeah.
still.
Yeah, right.
He can move.
Right.
I always have to give the speech, like, I use the same word, like, hello sky, and they'll, like, yell at a kid because they just are, like, one hand or something, and they're like, no, both hands all the way up, and I have to be like, whatever that means to them, like, that's what it is, it's okay.
Yeah.
But it is hard. And I even felt in the play, and this isn't that, but when I had one person telling me, no, you don't have to do it, like, it's too much, and another person telling me, do you want to do it, was so overwhelming.
And I have students who part of the nature of their disability or is anxiety, you know, that triggered anxiety.
Well, that's a big thing with us because like performance-wise, like a lot of them do not want to be on. Like one of them, it's like no stage, no, and he goes and sits in the corner of the auditorium, and the teacher's like, you have to get him to come on. Like they want all the kids on the stage, they want all the kids in the ensemble. He doesn't want to go on, so like I try to tell the parents like, if your son doesn't want to be in the show, we could do something else with him, you know, and that's important.
The students are advocating, which is also a really important skill.
Yeah.
So it's like honoring their individuality and honoring what they're advocating for. And so,
So in the case of that, what are some strategies, would we say? And then we'll move on to the, so in that case, right, where that overly strict para, what might be some interventions we might use in that case to keep the vibe in the room creative and free?
Well, like in the case that she was saying with like one hand up versus two, I might just make a general announcement like, remember, we can do it however we feel that we need to, or however we feel like we're going to respond to it. So hopefully the para will get it without it having to be like a direct, like, please leave them alone and let them do what they need to do.
Yeah, or like a soft,
it doesn't always work.
Yeah, or a soft like, you can let Like, you can let them go.
Yeah.
See what happens. It's okay.
Yeah.
That's not like pointed to them, but
Right.
Just like open the flexibility.
yeah.
I always model like the tone of voice that I want. So if like a para's like speaking like really harshly and abrupt, whatever my next comment is, whether that's addressing that situation or addressing the whole room, like I'm gonna be very intentional about how I'm sounding and like how I'm not gonna match that. I'm gonna bring it back to where I want it.
We've had this conversation with other teachers in high school, and it feels awkward because you're policing, like, it's like you're policing other adults in the room, some of whom are older than me.
Oh.
Right.
So like, it's, you know, it's like it's a tricky situation because they're adults and they should, and many are amazing. And then you get into those situations where it's like, you don't want to have to police necessarily, but like, you have to.
Right.
So without you don't want to make them feel badly either. So.
Well, it's particularly like when you're, you know, how many people put on shows? Great. I mean, when you get to that point, like, you know, you need all hands on deck, you know? I mean, it gets to a point that, you know, in my mind, I'm like, if not now, like, when? Like, when? Or,
Right.
like, because you know, like, next week, it's like yeah.
But one of the things too that there's like the constant reiteration that we keep talking about is that understanding, it's kind of having that reflective practice as the teacher, and not to say that everything like falls on the teacher, but sometimes when we think about our planning and we think about our delivery of what we want to happen in the class, like we ourselves know exactly what's in our brain and what we want the classroom space to look like and what we believe that the expectations for all of the adults in the room will be. But sometimes we don't necessarily articulate that in a clear way or in a way that the group in the room is responding to. So it's really thinking about, you know, if these situations are happening, like how can I structure a delivery or add into my planning a way so that everybody understands what or how I would like them to interact with the classroom. And so one of the things that was always like very successful for myself is that like if I had a slide deck for something that we were working on, like I had the team leaders there, like I had everything dictated as to whose group was where. And it was the difference of me being in a space where I was like, okay, like this group of students, I'm gonna pull you to work with them and you to work with them, that it was me not. And I had that realization that I was like, I'm not giving them the information that they need to lead this group or to participate in this action. And so just as you're modeling the expectations to the students in the class for them to independently practice, you're modeling that for everybody in the room. Because, you know, related service providers, paraprofessionals, they don't have the knowledge of theatrical practices that you do. And the language is new. Theater and the arts are not always accessible to everybody. There's a really high expense, there's an interest. So it's just really thinking about where everybody is in the space and making it kind of this barrier-free environment for people to feel comfortable. Because if you don't understand the vocabulary or you don't understand what's happening in the class that day, you tend to take a seat backwards or be defensive in your choices for the day. It's just human nature. You know, and not saying that everybody does that on purpose, but it's just like trying to just think about those things and am I articulating what I want to happen to the teachers in the room? Because when you empower them, or you know, like it's all about empowering and building that ensemble. We do that all the time with the students, but how are we empowering this ensemble of adults, which is what we're going to get into.
Yeah.
Do you like that segue?
I found that's very, what you're talking about is spot on because theater is an ensemble. And I'm always trying to reiterate, you know, for every one person on stage, there's 10 people behind the scenes doing things. Another thing that I did find helpful with working with one pair in particular was a compliment sandwich.
Yeah.
Start off with something really positive about them and then say, I was wondering when you're working with this particular student, if when something like this happens, can we try and always use the collective we so it's not pointing a finger and then end it with another compliment.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's
really
Compliment sandwich.
It works great for talking to parents too.
Oh, that's awesome. I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
compliment sandwich.
I mean, that's it, yeah.
That's great. All right, with that said, we're moving on to our second activity, which is about empowering.
Yeah, and that's really like what a lot of our discussion turned into when we were planning this, like how are you taking the support staff in your room and transitioning them for them from just being there to being a part of it. Like we're doing something very different than like what our colleagues are doing, right? You know, we're creating art with our students, so we need something a little bit different from the paraprofessionals than what they're doing in the classroom. So we're thinking about how can we empower them to be actually a part of the creation process, and in doing that, telling them that, you know, yes, I am the theater teacher, but what you can bring to this production, to this rehearsal, to this whatever, is important too. Like your contribution is valued. So we're gonna do kind of like another like enroll type of activity, because we're a small group. We're gonna split into two, and I'll ask for 2 volunteers who will be enroll as like a support staff member, and I'll tell you who you are, what you're doing, and everybody else will be enroll as a student. And we're going to work in our small groups to create movement, choreography, however you want to frame it, and I'll kind of explain more as we get into it. So are there 2 people who would like to be enroll as a support staff member? Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, so you are a speech language pathologist pushing into the rehearsal, and within the small group that you're working in, you have 3 of your students that you service together in a group of 3 once a week. So you're seeing them in the theater class as this is their group session for speech. And then any for one other person to jump in and be?
Sure.
All right, perfect. All right, so you will be a one-to-one paraprofessional, and specifically for behavior. So the student that you work with has a behavior intervention plan. That student will be in your group, but just knowing that that's who you are, that's like the context of it. So if I could have my speech teacher come over here, and my paraprofessional over here, and let's just make some groups from here. So can I have you come over here? Why don't you go over there? If you don't want to participate or any like limitation, no problem, you could head over here. And here's my speech teacher. You could go over here, and Elise could jump in there.
Do I need to read anything?
No, okay. No. All right, so, and Michael and Amanda are going to jump in. So, all right, we are here at rehearsal. You know that I have a lot on my plate as the teacher and director of this show, and I have a lot of choreography going through my brain. I have a lot of things that I need to do, so I need your help today creating the choreography for this next piece of the show. So I have you in your groups, and you are going to work together in your group. Students, I want to see your choreography. I want to see what you can create. And in your group, you have your staff member who's going to be helping you and assisting you. And staff members, this is your chance, work with the students, help them bring out their creative ideas. So our group over here, what I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to give this to our speech teacher here. You're going to create 8 counts of choreography that somehow involves moving across the stage. Stage left to stage right. I don't know what that's going to look like, but just moving across the stage. And my group over here, you will create 8 counts of movement that involves a zigzag. Maybe you're zigzagging with your whole body or your hands or your feet. I don't know. I would love to see your ideas. Now let me play for you the song, a reminder of the song that we're working with. and then I'll give you time to create together. I don't think this is disconnected, hold on. There we go. All we need today. So, students, I'm excited to see your ideas, and staff, really try to see if you can collect the ideas from the students and put it together into 8 counts. When we're done, I'll give you about like 5 to 7 minutes, and then when you're done, we'll just share and see where we're at. All right? Go to it. I'll come visit you.
What's a zigzag?
Who's our teacher?
I don't. My teacher's in.
I'm with you. How are you doing? Are you ready to go?
Sure. Are we? What's a zigzag?
Go follow me. We can do a zigzag together. Everyone follow me over here. We're gonna go this direction over here.
Okay.
But we're not gonna go in a line. We're gonna go this way. And then we're gonna turn this way. Follow me. You right behind me. Ready?
Okay, ready?
We're gonna go this way. 1, 2. Oh! Let's try this. Let's do it all together. Let's go back here
And we're
together.
gonna move from left.
You hold on to this hand. You hold on to
Everybody
your
okay?
hand.
All right, so this way.
You hold on to her hand.
So we have to do it for 8 counts, and we counted to 8. Now, what kind of moves do we think we want to make to go across the stage? Skipping. Skipping, okay.
Very nice, we're all working together.
Up and down, okay.
Thanks, stomping.
You like stomping, okay.
You got a zigzag?
Hop,
We got a
hopping,
zigzag.
hopping, skipping,
Everyone feel
stomping,
good?
hands up and down. You think we can move together into something? What do you think? All right, let's everybody do a stomp first.
Does that feel good?
Stomp.
Hands up.
Ooh, did that feel good? I like to stomp. Sometimes when you're angry, it makes you feel good to stomp. All right, let's do one more stomp. Ready?
Like this.
Okay. So we have stomping, then we have skipping. Can everybody skip? Does everybody know how to skip? That's
Okay,
tricky.
ready? Here we go. A 5,
It's sort of like a hop and a
7,
jump.
8,
Up,
and go.
jump,
Follow me.
hop, jump. There you go.
And
Hop,
zigzag.
jump. There you go. You got it. Hop, jump.
And
Okay.
zigzag.
And then, can you show us yours again?
And zigzag.
Up, down, up, down.
All right,
Okay.
feel good?
So we had hop, skip, up, down,
What do you want to
and
do? Well, when we were holding
hop,
our hands, we were
hop, hop, hop,
sideways.
hop.
And then
So
I kind of
we started, yep, everybody
I
hop,
didn't know which way to turn. You could do that on purpose.
hop.
There was no visual.
There we go.
Support.
Okay, so we have hop, skip, stomp, up and down. That's a lot of things to remember at the same time.
Do we have masking
What do you
tape?
think we should do? Should we do all of them?
If we have masking tape, we can put it on the floor.
You want me to do it?
Or Polly's.
Or
Okay.
the dog.
So I'm gonna try it.
Dogs,
So
the dogs
hop
that
first,
march from one
hop,
to another. So do we,
then skip,
okay, we have it on the floor. Magic.
then stomp, and then
So-
hands up, down, which is a great way to end, right? That would be our last thing. It's almost like we're taking a bow. All right, so we have to move from this
And
side.
then this way, and
to
then
this
this way. So we're
side.
just following the line.
How do you want to do it?
And
Do you
go.
want to do everybody following or all of us moving
And we're at the
forward?
line, and go. Boom.
I'm loving the
And
work
go.
that everybody's doing. I'm gonna give you like 3 more minutes before we share, okay? Great job, everybody.
You want to be the leader?
How does that feel? Anything else?
So we're gonna follow Mr. Mike.
We could put like
How many
bags
times? Let's
as
hop
our
twice.
voice spots to go, just to show that we have some.
From point to point.
Some point to point something.
So let's see, we're gonna move from this way to this way, so let's hop twice.
Yeah, let's-
Ready?
Should we
Up,
can we-
up, then we'll skip
My
twice.
favorite.
Oh, we could put this as my
Yeah, it's markers.
Skip, then stomp twice,
The first marker
and then
here.
turn to the audience. Up, down.
Let's see the second
What do you
marker.
think about that?
Was that 8?
Yeah, I think so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah.
Can we try that again?
Yeah, sure. Looking good, everybody. It looks like everybody contributed something. Nice leading, nice leading.
Hopped twice,
Ooh.
skipped twice,
Good idea.
stopped twice, entered the audience, up,
Yes, that's
down,
what this is.
up,
That's
and
what
then
you're remembering.
All right, check-in. How are we feeling, groups? Are we ready to share? Great. All right, here's what I'd like to do. I'd love to have one group at a time share so we can watch your work. And then maybe we can try to teach each other what we did. Maybe we'll see how much time we have. Because it looks like the work that was created was really, really strong. Which group wants to share first? Anyone feel okay. All right. Do you want to show us with music first or without?
Let's go with.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just do it all.
All right, let's give them some. All right, is everybody ready?
We'll just be, yes.
I'll give you a go. I'm gonna start, okay? Beautiful. And their assignment was to move in a zigzag. Do you think they accomplished that? Did you see a zigzag pattern with what they did? Yes.
Did we get that on camera? Because I want to be able to show just that moment to my admin if they ask what I did on the PD.
Then we had lunch and that was it.
All right. Our group over here, are we ready to share? All right. Are you ready to share it with music or do you want to start without music?
I guess we could do that.
Music, yeah. All right, I'll cue you in. Here we go. Ready and go! That we used the same music, but had totally different pieces. So their task was to travel across the stage. Does it look like they did that? Mm-hmm. Did you know? Yeah. All right. Well, that is all the time we have for rehearsal today. We have to go to lunch. I want to thank our staff members for being group leaders today. I really appreciate it. It helps me a lot to see you all creating the work, and it is really helping us create a show together. So students, before you leave, please thank your staff member and tell them how awesome they were at their job today. And all right, and scene for that. Great job. Of course, doing that with a room full of theater teachers, can happen like lickety-split, and doing something like that in a District 75 classroom would take much longer. And also, is that something that I would do on September 12th with our students? Definitely not. I struggle doing group work for all of the reasons that we've discussed today. I have certain classes where I know, okay, I have the buy-in from the paras and I can do this, I can do that. But I think, it's always a process that's like evolving and it's not going to look the same all the time. So, all right, we have like, I think
It's 11:40 on this paper, right?
11:50.
Oh.
Yeah, so we have like 15 minutes. Amanda has some thoughts and then.
So one of the things that we saw today was, does anybody care if we're like open and I'm sitting here. Or I can go in the middle, doesn't matter. No, same. She was like, I was like, we can have a conversation, right? Michael's like, we're laughing. It's cool, it's cool. So some of the things that we saw today is that we saw two different scenarios, right? We saw Marissa's scenario that was empowering the staff, thinking about ways that very specifically pre-planned. Like she knew that the related service provider saw 3 students in that room for a certain amount of time. So Marissa, planning collaboratively with that SLP, helped the SLP work with the students in one group so she could work with all of them at the same time. Also helped Marissa in being able to break into groups to have more collective ideas. So, you know, one thing that could have happened, it could have been Marissa had spread the kids out. There was 3 groups. Each of the kids that the SLP was working with were in separate groups, like which is an easier scenario when they're all together. So it was like this very mindful execution of that support. You know, having a one-to-one paraprofessional working with a group of students that they're also allowed to work with other students in the class, you know, and so having that opportunity for a small group. We saw another scenario that instead of it being at the top, there was expectations, it was more reactive, right? We saw things unfolding and we were reacting to what was happening instead of like thinking about how to set up the space. So when we think about that, like when you're working with the 2 groups and thinking about different ways that you can plan, like what are some ways that you can have, like were any of you inspired by these 2 scenarios to think about how that would change your practice in the classroom? Like what specifically do you think that you could take back and try that may be able to work? Or was there something like, I never thought of that in a way that I would pre-plan for my classroom sessions or for my instruction? Yeah.
I know for, like, we have an extraordinary amount of paras at our school, and I know a lot of them are very much take charge. So I think giving them like a card that explains exactly what needs to be done and giving them the power to do what they need to do with that group would definitely be helpful and keep everyone on task.
And the beauty of that too is it's probably on your slide deck or written on a lesson plan. You don't have to rewrite it. You can just cut it out, right? Yeah. So it's already something that's done. Like it's not an extra step in your planning. Michael.
I was going to say, and kind of like what Marissa was saying earlier, like I really try to like lead by kindness. So I'm always trying to be like kind, and even in my own heart, like leading with love. Like I just think if I come from that place, that's going to set some kind of tone. I love the compliment sandwich because it's kind of like what I'm doing, but not being as intentional.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think always like kind of, I think thanking them constantly is good because then they want to be involved. They want to help you more, you know, because a lot of the time, like putting on a show now, I'm doing it with like 60 kids. Like I need their help. Like who's going to come out for this? Who's going to do that? You have to build a good relationship because if you're like too much of a dictator or a know-it-all, they're not going to like respond to that. That's like what I think.
And along those lines, I just had 4 separate little tiny mini shows with my kids. And the parents and everybody come in, pointing them out in the room and giving them their own round of applause. These are your paras, these are your students' paras, and you know.
But what I loved about it though is that the intentionality.
Yeah.
You know, like you planned.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to give you a compliment. And we're gonna, how
Yes.
can we do this?
Yes. You gotta give
Oh, man, you did that great. Yeah. There you go.
It really does work with parents too.
Yeah.
And like with that is having that specificity of being able to have like that open and honest conversation with your parents too. Like you're building trust and rapport by, you know, acknowledging like you did this really well and this one specific thing needs worked on. And when you're talking to a para, like whether it's at the end of the class or, you know, after a small group, then it's happening in the now, that it's not like this situation has happened over multiple class periods and now people are frustrated and now you're like, I can't have you doing this. You know, there's that leading with love, there's that building that ensemble and it's looking at building relationships and being reflective in your choices.
Yeah, what I loved having the students thank the staff
Yeah.
at the end. Like having the students thank this felt really meaningful. I loved that, and steal that.
Those little things, right?
Yeah.
We have a weekly newsletter that we can put shout outs in, and I always try, you know, at least once a month to give a very specific shout out to a para or group of paras. Thank you to the paras from VO1, list their names for blah, 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 blah. And it goes in the newsletter and the whole school sees it, the administration sees it, and like those little things. And when I do that, the paras will come right to me. They'll be like, thank you so much for that shout out. And it was 5 seconds of my time, but like I mean it, I genuinely mean it, but that appreciation, they don't always receive that appreciation, and that is a really small thing that you can do to show them, like, I value you as my colleague, as my collaborator, because we know as theater artists, we can't do this by ourselves. It's just not happening.
Like, you need that team. There's
And
also,
at the beginning of the year, and then midway, like through parts, I also remind the students that there are multiple adults in the room and that they can ask anyone in the room for X, Y, Z. It's not just me that they have to come to. So that empowers the paras also to know that they have an important role within the classroom as well. Like you said, an ensemble, everybody's all hands on deck. So, and I do that multiple times throughout the year. Like, don't forget, you can ask X, Y, Z to whoever is an adult in the room.
and sometimes it feels a little bit uncomfortable, you know, at the beginning of the year, or if you're a new teacher and you're like, oh my gosh, I have so many like people to manage, and you're like, I'm not even sure what's happening with myself, but it's that the elevation of they are such experts in the students that they're working with because they're with them throughout the entire day and they see them in different environments. So it's like really leaning on that you're creating that collaborative partnership, you know, which is, again, like it all goes back to ensemble building, but it's really like taking that space to say we're going to have this distributive leadership moment. Like we're going to look at this classroom as a collective and work together. And there's also, the shout out thing is fantastic because does everybody know that there's a shout out rock stars for the DOE?
Yeah.
That there's this really cool thing that they put into place. I can't remember if it happened during COVID times, but if people give me their email, I'll send it out. But it blasts out through this like rock stars of the DOE. So you can not like just put you're a rising star, you did a great job at this. So it's a way that it publicizes to the school, but then like the rest of the DOE community as well. It's actually a really, really cool thing that they started doing to kind of empower and elevate people across the city to see the exceptional work that people were doing. To, you know, elevate.
A website?
Yeah, it's on the DOE website. It's like Rising Stars, I think.
The UNT paper that we get has something similar in there as well.
So really quickly, where are we on time?
We have 7 minutes.
So one of the things that I really wanted to bring to your attention is when we were going through and you were watching some of the scenarios, is everybody in here aware of the specific considerations for working with students with IEPs document for Danielson?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is I feel like at this point they need to update it a little bit because it was 2016. But what occurs in this document, because there are so many people that are working in our classrooms, is that in every domain of Danielson, there is a question to probe your thinking of how you're working with the adults in your class. Like, how are you creating an effective environment in planning and preparation, in the classroom environment, in instructional periods, in your professional responsibilities, and also in data tracking. So some of the questions that really came to mind that we really wanted to elevate and that I was talking to Michael and Marissa about is that they were doing all of these things so just as a pedagogical practitioner. And some of the questions that they talked about, and we can have an open discussion about this, is how do you have professional and collaborative relationships with the members of staff in the school, in your classroom who work with the students? How do we plan collaboratively to support to support both the personnel in the classroom. So that's all of that work that we were talking about. Do the adults in the room understand the expectations for that classroom and what they're supposed to be doing during that period? How do we collaborate and guide classroom paraprofessionals to support classroom-wide instruction and all of the behavior management? So, if they're coming into your room and your behavior plan or your behavioral program is different than the classroom teachers, is that something that they're aware of? Or is it something that I become like the handler of behavior, or have we collectively understood what we've decided to do? How do we maximize the paraprofessionals or support personnel for them to be active participants in assessing individuals? And that came to mind so much of what we were talking. So would you give another example? So how have you planned, pre-planned to make sure you're actively using the staff in your classroom for data collection?
Well, it really was from the help from my mentor, so we would talk about it. But one of the best ways that I've learned to really do it to get the warm-up all the way through, placing where I need the paraprofessional to be during the warm-up so every kid is engaged, because my big thing is trying to get the kids to learn their right from their left. They can't do that with me looking at them, so I have to turn around that forces me not to look at the kids constantly all the time, so I really have to rely on the paras. So I do say that. I'm like, hey, when I turn around, that's your job right now to make sure they're on their right foot or if they're on their correct left foot. So that's my big pre-planning with that.
That's awesome. Does anybody else do any other sort of support where they're asking the support staff in their room to support data collection?
QR codes that I ask the staff to complete at the end of every lesson, and each student has a specific, whatever unit of theater we're in, they have a specific goal. And so I ask the staff, whoever, I have like an iPad and I'll scan it, I'll be like, pass it around and answer the question for whatever student you worked with today. And so their goal might be they labeled every part of the stage, or they labeled one part of the stage, and then they have they did not meet the goal, met the goal with consistent prompting, met the goal with minimal prompting, and met the goal independently. And I have the staff do that every day.
Dan, I saw your
I have a similar setup, except I am low tech and have done it in paper.
I'm not allowed.
You showed me how to do it in QR code, and I have yet to implement
Can you share
this.
that with us?
Yeah.
It sounded super cool.
It's just Google
But I just
Form.
have
It's not fun.
a binder for each class, and I give the binder out at the beginning of the class. And generally, if someone has a one-on-one, they'll take their one for their one-on-one, and then the other ones will be distributed around. For classes where there's only one para, I've redone it so that it goes by, instead of by student, it goes by activity, because I divide the class up into 4 segments, and each segment, each student is assessed in one area. And it's all, I try and make it as simple as I can, so it's just circling a number, 1 through 4, basically the same thing, because it meets up with the...
Do you do more of the prompting, full prompt, minimal prompts?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the way I worded it, but I remember it's the Sandy testing. They have the 1 through 4, and I made it so it aligns to that, because a lot of the staff are familiar with those from the classrooms.
So we're at time. So one thing that I wanted to leave you with is that it also talks about the continuity of service with speech providers, that Marissa showed a perfect example of just knowing what the related service provider is doing in your class to support them actively engaging with the students that they're supporting. So does anybody have any questions, comments? Do you feel like this was helpful to you to take back to your practice, and that maybe some tricks of the trade or some more thoughts for your toolbox would be helpful in your practice? Show of hand. Thumbs up, 7 up, we'll do some kinesthetic responses across the room. If anybody has any questions, we'll be here for a little bit of time after, but if not, thank you for coming and enjoy your lunch.
And lunch moved to the 7th floor.
7th floor.
Thank you.
Yeah.
7th floor lunch. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Rockstar thought process. I love this thing.